Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I thought I'd come out in the shop and kind of do what I call a reset. As you know, I've been working on parts of the engine, getting the engine block back and painted and things like that. I'm starting to measure the crankshaft and we'll get our clearances sorted out. So that project in my mind is starting to turn the corner. You know, obviously we've done a bunch of tear down and now we've got the machine work done and we're slowly getting back on a build. So I've got everything to get it back to the short block, which is awesome, and then the heads will go in soon to get the work done needed on those. Now as far as the body work, I wanted to get back, start getting my head around starting the continuing on with the bodywork repairs. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate, you know, when you're working on something and the whole, it could be your desk in the office or your wood shop, your car shop, your welding shop, you end up making a god-awful mess while you're working because you're so concentrated on what you're doing. Things are flying all over the place. So what I like to do is to come in and just have a really good tidy up, put everything away, sweep up, clean it, and it really does make a lot of difference. It kind of clears your head. It's like a big clutter cleaning, you know, like you've seen those shows with people hoarding stuff, and when they get them all cleared out, 9 times out of 10 they feel a lot better about themselves. So it's a similar thing really. So you kind of a big reset, you know, and then you can kind of clearly see what you're going to do, and then slowly it gets all trashed again and then you have to do it again, but that's fine. Now as far as bodywork, the budget, we talked a little about the budget so far on the engine. Now those are inescapable things that you just have to do because you have to replace bearings and pistons and what have you, have machine work done. There's no getting around it, you just got to do it. So that's almost like one of those fixed costs really, depending on what you need to do. Now bodywork, on the other end of the scale, can certainly be the most expensive part of the restoration. I can see that. It's true in the woodwork game that I'm in, and certainly in the car game. You know, there's a lot of labor involved and thought processes and, you know, preparing, welding, fabricating, all that. There's a lot of labor involved. Now materials wise, it's actually not very expensive. You know, metal itself, if you're fabricating patches, not expensive at all. I mean, where it gets a little expensive if you're buying body panels and things like that. And these are, some body panels are just no longer available. So that's why I bought a scrap 108 to take panels from. Now as far as costing, I will show you against the wall here a sheet of 16 gauge steel that I'm using for rocker fabrication, some of the heavier stuff, and then I'm using 18 gauge for bodywork repair panels, keeping it same thickness as the original. On this driver's side, I will be replacing, I've decided, the floor pan on that side, and something of that nature. Will be about $300-400 for the floor pan on that side. And the inner rocker will need fabricating, and the outer rocker I'm going to cut from the parts car. So as far as costing on the bodywork side of it, if you have a welder already, that's obviously a great thing, but I had to buy a welder and gas and all that set up. That probably knocked me back around $700-800 for that whole setup to get it up and running. I went for a 220 unit. You don't need that. You can get away with 110 if you're just doing a lot of the bodywork stuff. So that was around $700. And let me show you the metal I've bought. Now this is 16 gauge steel. I got it from a local shop, and I think it was a 4x8 sheet. Cost me around $100. So not expensive, not a big outlay, and you can obviously practice your heart's content with pieces and get your technique down, which is advisable before you start welding on the car. So I got a sheet of 16 gauge. I haven't used a great deal of that obviously because I haven't done a great deal of the 16 gauge patches yet. And then over here is what I have left of the 18 gauge. Again, that was about $80 for a sheet. And I've chopped bits off for my workbench surfaces in there and things like that. So the metal itself isn't that bad. So, well, that's a few hundred in steel. Floor pan, say on this side I think it's around 300 bucks. Main reason I'm getting that out is because I have some inner rocker damage along here, and to access it properly and do a good job I want to do that. So I'm pulling the floor pan out. It was fairly dented, and also there was some problems down by the seat bracket as well there. So I've opted to just, you know, stick a new floor pan in that side. That one's really good actually. That was good. I've got one patch at the end there. It doesn't warrant pulling the whole thing out. Now obviously we had these panels here. These cost around, I think around 75 bucks each from MB Classics in Germany. So I got that one welded in, and then we got that one to do, the one with the tow hook. So that's about what, 150 bucks there. As far as any other little pieces of metal stuff that I bought, I did buy jacking points, as you know. There's the jacking points there. I've got those to put in. They were around 150, 160 for all 4 of those. I've not had a good exploratory look about the inner wheelhouse on this one. I think it's pretty good, and we haven't got as much repair on the lip as we did on the other side, so I probably won't need to buy the inner wheelhouse. And I think this panel is okay for the most part. We've got some little edging stuff to do, so I'm probably not going to get into removing that. These are obviously all my original panels that I've repainted. The front here that was really beyond help on these edges I took from my spare parts car. Now the parts car I ended up paying $400. I'll take you down a garden and show you that thing. $400, and if you've got a spare place to put it and an understanding wife, I would highly recommend you finding a parts car that, you know, one that really doesn't make any sense to be saved. It's a 108, fairly basic one, but didn't make a lot of sense to save it, and it was just sitting there. So it's a gold mine of parts. You know, as you know, I'm taking the rear quarter to repair all this section. I may even take this threshold piece because this one's dented to hell, and I want to make sure that that's nice. And the only real difference is that this is 4 inches longer, and consequently longer doors, longer roof. So overall I think probably closing in at a couple of $1,000, you know, a little more maybe for grinders and cutting wheels and things of that nature. And then it's all labour, isn't it? So if you're willing to and have the aptitude or the patience to do this kind of work, this is where you can really save an extreme amount of money in a restoration. You just got to keep the projects or each step under control as far as size. Don't get too overwhelmed. Take lots and lots of pictures, lots of reference points, markings, video, all that stuff, and just take your time. Obviously, because it's a unibody car, you've got to make sure everything is stable once you're trying to take out a lot of metal, because you don't want to weld it back into a wrong position. And on top of obviously, you know, I made this body cart, and this body cart, you saw the videos of that cost me around 400, 500 in materials, wheels, all that stuff. And this has been amazingly handy to just push it around. I can lift it up, I can tilt the car, lift it up one end, wheel it out, I can wheel it outside. And eventually in the coming months I do have to figure a way of rigging up a system to turn the car on its side. I'm not fully decided on my system yet. I don't have the overall length of garage to put a rotisserie in here, because this darn step here restricts the length. So I'm going to have to come up with a way of turning this car, and I might be incorporating the frame I already have, because that's all already there, isn't it? So I might have a way of sliding into these ends and being able to tilt the car. I haven't come up yet with an exact plan, but I've got lots of ideas. So that is where we're at right now. I'm itching to get back into bodywork again. I actually really enjoy it. It's just been very busy getting the other cars, the SLs, ready for sale, and obviously my buddy's customization work he did on this one. And obviously we've got the subframe out now, because actually I don't even think I've mentioned that yet. One other thing, and then I'll take you down to the other car. I did take the subframe completely out because of the thread issue on one of the mounts. The bolt kept going in on the piss, so to speak, and I wanted to take it out and re-tap the thread, make sure we didn't have any drama there. It tapped out beautiful, and then ready to go back in. But I noticed a couple of the seals on the pins were gone, so this is the time to do that, and then I can just put it all back. I'm not going to get into all painting all this up because this is one of my daily drivers, and I'm just going to repair it, make sure all the pieces are put back correctly and it's ready to go, because I want this back for my winter driving so I can get my 6-cylinder undercover and out of the weather. So let me take you to the garden and I'll show you what I got in there. So here it is. This was a 280 SE 1973, a later one actually, that I bought for $400, and it's been a gold mine for body parts. This rocker, I'm going to be snagging this rocker. Obviously it's going to be 4 inches shorter, but I can fabricate the 4-inch plate, the fill-in plate. All the doors are pretty good, not that I'll be needing them, but anyway, they're there anyway. And then miscellaneous parts inside the doors that could be handy. Work our way around back here. Obviously we've taken the rear quarter off, and also while taking it all apart you're learning the way these things are put together, so you know what you're facing when I'm doing on the main project car. My buddy Matthew thinks he's working on a 108 right now, and he's going to more than likely have the roof, because his one had a tree come down in this area, damage the roof and the door, so I think he's going to end up with a roof. And then we'll probably pull axles, pull out different rocker panels. The engine is actually a pretty good engine and a good head. I think Matthew's having that, and the front subframe. It's slowly disappearing, and to the joy of my wife, I can tell you. So eventually then we'll probably just strip out any other parts that, and then it will get taken to the scrap yard. But like I say, it was beyond help before, but it's going to a good cause. I know some people get upset about seeing cars partied out, but there comes a point where this car would have just sat and rusted into the ground. No one wanted it. It was been there for years, and it's just the way it is, you know. So guys, that's a quick catch up for the bodywork and paint budget. Kind of gives you some approximation of what's going on. Probably lands around bodywork alone, you know, with tools, 2.5–3 grand, probably another few thousand in paint. But as I say, that's the area where that you can really save some money if you're willing to do it yourself, because bodywork and paint is one of the most expensive things, and you can really see that. So unless you have some unforeseen circumstances, you know, expenses coming up, like things you don't anticipate, yeah, that's about it guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and say goodbye to Bree, and I will see you in the next one. Please hit like, share, subscribe. Take care, and that's about it.